Sir, I'm starting the webinar now. Sir, hello, sir. Hello, sir. Am I audible, sir? Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible for everyone. Please confirm with yes or no in chat box. Thank you, Mr. Manoj Bhaskar. Thank you, Sania, for joining. Thank you, Mr. Amaresh, for joining and confirming. Thank you, Mr. Keshav. While many people are joining the webinar, we'll be starting the webinar shortly by 4:10 p.m. While we are waiting for starting the webinar, I would like to know if our majority of audience are from accounts background or finance background. Please type yes in chat box if you are from accounts or finance background. Thank you, Mr. Harish. Thank you, Mr. Keshav Chakle. We can see good number of responses in chat box. We also expect same participation in Q&A session also. We will have dedicated Q&A session at the end of webinar so that Akela sir, the speaker of today, will be answering directly to your queries and questions. While we all know today's topic is, I would like to know what audience are expecting from today's webinar. We would like to see some responses on comments so that the speaker can focus more on the expectations of the audience. Please type what you are expecting from the webinar so that we can focus more into discussing those topics related to 54th GST Council meeting. We can see good number of participation from audience. Okay, Mr. Sania Taslim was asking career in GST. We will definitely take it up. And clarification about 54th GST Council meeting. Yes, Harish. Mr. Anand Jayarajan is raising his hand. If you want to ask any question, Anand, you can directly type in the chat box. Mr. Keshav asking, we expect improvement in GST invoice system mechanism. Definitely. In fact, we are planning to do one dedicated session on invoice system management, Keshav, for the next month webinar. You can definitely register and know more about invoice management system. Since many other audience also joining, we'll be starting the webinar by another 3 minutes. Our speaker, Mr. Akila sir, is also waiting in the backstage. We can see good number of participation from the audience. Keep it up with all this energy and ask as many questions as you want, because we will have dedicated question Q&A session at the end of webinar. You can use the Q&A option in chat box so that we can take it up easily. We can see good number of audience attending our webinar. Thank you, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Pawan Kumar Sahu. I handle product marketing at Websol. I will be your moderator of the day. Before we head into the webinar, I would like to give you a small introduction of my company that I represent from. I will try to keep it short. Websol was part of Wipro back in the days, where we were used to be printer manufacturing different division of Wipro. and we are specialized in dot matrix printer category. Over the years, the company decided to step out of Wipro and forming a separate entity in the name of Web Solutions. Our signature offering, managed print services, was carried out over 2 decades, and with evolving needs and changing market trends, we decided to bring digital workplace solutions to our portfolio. We also expanded our product and service portfolios to cater mass market. Over the years, we also collaborated with market giants like Ricoh and Fusifilm. I would like to highlight few milestones of our journey that we underwent complete brand transformation and we are now called as WebSol. Let us move to the next slide where we can see some quick highlights of our company followed by services we are offering in brief. We have over 20 years of experience in industry and we have over 500 enterprise customers in over 2000 plus service locations. We also awarded as DMS Solution of the Year in 2022 by CIO Outlook. You can see some of our trusted customers which are major in Indian industry like Tata Capital, Wipro, Metro, HDFC, etc. I'd like to introduce some of our product categories. FluidWorks is our intelligent workplace suite catering to a wide range of interdepartmental functions. We have gamut of offerings under FluidWorks, which I will explain in the upcoming slide. Fluid Pro is our managed print services portfolio where we offer infrastructure, consulting services, cyber security solutions, remote monitoring and management solutions. Moving on to Fluid Print, we offer print infrastructure solutions according to your custom requirements. We offer both CapEx and OpEx models, and we charge the customer on pay-per-print basis. We are, in fact, number one in the Fluid Print managed services business in India. Also, Fluid Map is a tool to track all the assets in your network, and we will show key parameters like uptime, downtime, toner, or cartridge levels. Fluid Trail is one of our process automation solution, which we offer document management hosted by Microsoft Azure Cloud. With this, we can automate all your office processes or enterprise processes like employee records management, candidate onboarding, offboarding, attendance management, contract management, etc. We also offer managed GST solutions for filing, GST filing, reconciliation, e-voice, e-way bill automation, etc. If anyone wants to know more about our offering, since all the audience are from accounting and finance background, if anyone wants to know more about our GST solution offer, I would like to launch a quick poll. For our free demo offering. Flowtax is our automated GST filing, reconciliation, e-invoicing, e-way bill automation. If anyone wants to know more about this Flowtax platform, they can click on S in your poll box so that we will provide you free demo after the webinar. Our team will call you up and schedule a meeting and provide you a free demo. We can see good number of responses for demo. Thank you. Thank you, audience, for your response. I will be ending the poll. If anyone wants to know more about the demo, they can personally reach out to me at pawan.sahu@websol.com. I'll be providing you one post-webinar mail as well. Moving on, I would like to introduce our speaker of the day, Mr. Akila Prakash Rao, sir. Mr. Akila Prakash Rao is an independent indirect tax advocate. He graduated in 1989 from BITS Pilani in electrical and electronics engineering. He is in fact also a gold medal holder who completed LLB from Andhra University in 2001, and he has more than 27 years of experience in the field of indirect taxes with exposure in government, consultancy, and industries like auto and pharma. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, sir. I'm sure audience is looking forward to directly hear from you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Pawan. Thanks for those introductory words, and hope that you are going to flip the slides for me, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, audience, for joining us today. So today the agenda will be what is the press release and what are the circulars that are issued and what are the missing points and what is the way forward, and then I will be taking your Q&A. And the thing, my request to you all is that all your questions you may please post it in the Q&A chat box so that it will be easy for us to pick from there and then answer all your queries and all. It need not be relating to the 54th GST Council meeting only, that it can be on any topic that I will try to answer you. Yeah, the first slide, please. So the GST Council recommends a group of ministers on life and health insurance related GST with existing group of ministers on rate rationalization to submit the report by end of October 2024. You can see that there is a small shift in the attitude of the GST Council, that they are not taking many decisions in this 54th Council, because that they have referred many of the matters to the group of ministers. So unless the reports are available from the new GOMs, that I don't think that we will get to know any decisions, because most of the decisions that were taken also were not implemented. As you can see that there are only 4 circulars which have clarified the positions, out of which that 2 are on the same lines and 1 is already a pre-existing thing only, which they have clarified once again. But however, that slightly the government is on the defensive is what we can understand from this GST Council. So the GST Council is also recommends a formation of a group of ministers to study the future of compensation cess. This is another big topic that some of the states are opposing, and many of the industry people are also opposing to remove this compensation cess, because it is already 7 years since we are living the GST. So the GST Council recommends to exempt supply of research and development services by a government entity or a research association, university, college, or other institution notified under Section 35 of the Income Tax Act using government or private grants. This is a big topic which was there in the news prior to the 54th GST Council meeting, that many of the universities and the public research institutes have received show cause notices from the departments demanding tax on the grants that they have received. So on that issue, there is a clarification which has been issued. So the tax is going to be exempted for with some conditions. And then GST Council recommends reduction on the GST rate on cancer drugs like trastuzumab, deruxtecan, and osimertinib, and durvalumab from 12% to 5%, which is the concessional rate of duty. This is actually in line with the reduction of the import duties on these drugs. Avoid the customs notification, which I will be referring to in my later slides. And the GST Council recommends rollout of a pilot B2C e-invoicing. And one more step towards the digitization, that even B2C invoicing is also going to be mandated. Now it is going to be an optional, because that they are going to do a pilot study of it, and after that it is going to be mandatory. So it is not only the B2B, even the B2C, that e-invoicing is going to be the norm of the day. Next slide, please. Yeah. So some of the changes are clarifications in the GST tax rates as far as goods are concerned. The namkins and excluded expanded savory food products. So the GST rate of excluded or expanded products, savory or salted, other than unfried or uncooked snack pellets, by whatever name called, manufactured the process of exclusion, falling under the HS number 19059030, to be reduced from 18 to 12% at par with namkeens, bhujia, mixer, chabena, pre-packaged and labeled, and similar edible preparations in ready for consumption form, which are classifiable under HS 210690. The GST rate of 5% will continue on unfried or uncooked snack pellets by whatever name called, manufactured through process of exclusion. To also clarify that the reduced GST rate of 12% on excluded or expanded products, savory or salted, other than unfried or uncooked snack pellets by whatever name called, manufactured through process of exclusion, falling under HS number 19059030, is applicable prospectively. So whatever is the litigation, it is there as on today, is going to continue. All these changes are going to be prospective only. It is normally the case that whenever there are rate changes, the changes will be effective prospectively and never retrospective. And Circular 189 classified these snack pellets manufactured through exclusion process under CTH 19059030 with a GST rate of 18%, but revenue is disputing the set classification. Now the dispute will be set at rest going forward, but it is not going to address the past, as I told you. So this is one important classification which has been issued by the council. Next slide, please. The GST rate on cancer drugs, namely these 4 drugs, is going to be reduced from 12 to 5. So this is the customs duty notification 30 of 2024 had reduced the BCD rate on these goods. Now even the GST is also going to be reduced on these life-saving drugs. Then one important change that we need to note in the case of metal scrap, where reverse charge has been introduced on supply of metal scrap by unregistered persons to the registered persons, provided that the supplier shall take registration as and when it crosses the threshold limit, and the recipient who is liable to pay under RCM shall pay the tax even if the supplier is under the threshold. This is in addition to the 2% which is applicable, TDS of 2%, which is applicable on supply of metal scrap by registered persons in B2B supply. So currently, only notified persons, that is the government departments and agents, are required to deduct the TDS. But going forward, the intention would be to regulate the unorganized scrap industry also. But to what extent the intended purpose is going to be served is something which needs to be seen. But as on date, when we see that it is there are going to be this RCM levy, which is going to be the new one. Just be on my. Hello. Yes. Sorry, next slide, please. Yeah. So there is one more classification which is available in the case of roof mounted package units. Of course, this is not something which is normally going to be useful for everyone. That these roof mounted package units, air conditioning machines for railways, would be classified under 8415 with a tax rate of 28%. This is an outcome due to the AR ruling in the SSK Engineering Company Private Limited, wherein the decision has been taken to levy 28% tax on it. So just to give more weightage to this AR decision, this clarification is going to be issued. And then car and motorcycle seats is a big debate which is happening in the auto sector. So to clarify that the car seats are classifiable under 9401 and attract a GST rate of 18%. So GST rate on car seats classifiable under 9401 is to be increased from 18 to 28%. And this uniform rate of 28% will be applicable prospectively for car seats of motor cars in order to bring parity with the seats of motorcycles, which is already attracting a GST rate of 28%. So the background for this particular decision is that the Supreme Court in the matter of CCE Kanpur versus Matador Foam in 2005 has held that seats of two-wheelers fall under CTH 8714, but in the final ruling, it was mentioned that the concerned products fall under CTH 9401. So there was a error apparent in the particular decision, but which was not pointed out at that point of a time. Hence, all two-wheeler seats are currently under CTH 9401 attracting 18% GST, whereas the four-wheeler seats are under CTH 8714 attracting a levy of 28%. So now going forward, there would be a level playing field for both the categories, but it may not address the past litigation. That is going to be the worry. But now two-wheeler seats or four-wheeler seats are going to attract 18%, but in due course that they are going to be increased to 28%. That is what is the clarity now from the GST Council meeting. Next slide, please. So these are some of the decisions in relation to the services. So life and health insurance, the GST Council recommended to the constitute a group of ministers to holistically look into the issues pertaining to the GST on life insurance and health insurance. So the GOM members are going to be the finance ministers are the representatives of Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, Karnataka, Kerala, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, Meghalaya, Goa, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Punjab and Gujarat. And the report is expected by end of October, because the next GST Council meeting is scheduled to be held in the month of November 2024. So before the 55th GST Council meeting, we expect that this group of ministers are going to submit their report on which a decision can be taken through consensus. And then transport of passengers by helicopter, there is a concessional rate of duty of 5%, which is going to be levied instead of the 18%. But it is also to clarify that a charter of helicopter will continue to be 18%. But if a person is taking the service, it is going to be 5%. But if somebody is going to charter the helicopter, then it is going to be at 18%. However, this clarification comes with a standard tag, which nowadays that in most of the GST circulars and notifications that we are able to see that all these decisions are going to be on as is where is basis. What is this as is where is basis? In order to clarify that as is where is basis for the past where the litigation is pending, that the revenue is going to withdraw their notices. But however, if somebody has paid the tax already, then he is not entitled for any refund. But if somebody has not paid the tax and the issue is under debate, then there is no requirement for paying the tax. Hence, the as is where is basis is not going to help much for the past, but going forward, it is going to give a certainty to the business. So that is what is the whole idea of it. And then flying training courses, to clarify by way of a circular that approved flying training courses conducted by DGCA, approved flying training organizations are exempt from the levy, because the earlier circular 117 in 2019 clarified that this exemption is applicable only to the maritime training institutes approved by the DG Shipping under the Merchant Shipping Act, read with the Merchant Shipping Standards of Training, Certification and Watchkeeping for Seafarers rules, as per serial number 66 of notification 12 of 2007, but no such clarification was there for flying training courses by the FTOs. So this clarification is based on the AR ruling in the case of National Flying Training Institute Private Limited. So now on par with the maritime training, even the flight training programs are also going to be at a concessional rate. So there is a query which I am taking in between, because that I don't want to keep the person waiting. That he said that currently they are supplying components to seat manufacturers under 18%. Going forward, whether I have to charge 18 or 28%. See, the clarification is only in respect of the seats which are manufactured, not for the components for manufacturing the seats. Hence, your case, there is not going to be much of a change. The same old rate will continue for you. Next slide, please. Supply of research and developmental services has become a big controversy now. The GST Council is recommended to exempt the supply of research and development services by a government entity or a research association, university, college, or other institution notified under the clauses 2, 3 of subsection 1 of section 35 of the Income Tax Act 1961 using government or private grants. But again, this clarification is also issued on as is where is basis. It means to say all the past litigation, wherever the taxes are paid, are not eligible for refund. Wherever the dispute is pending, the revenue is going to withdraw their demands, and whosoever has not paid the tax, they need not pay tax. Going forward, it is clear that no tax is applicable. That is what is the as is where is clause. Hence, one needs to be vigilant about these kind of things, because of late the GST started issuing all clarifications mostly on as is where is basis only. So then there is one relief for the real estate sector where the preferential location charges. So the preferential location charges are paid along with the consideration for the construction of services of the residential, commercial, or industrial complex before issuance of the completion certificate forms part of the composite supply, where supply of the construction services is the main service and PLC is naturally bundled with it and are eligible for the same tax treatment as the main supply, that is construction service. A similar clarification was issued earlier in Circular 177 with reference to the PLC collected in addition to the lease premium for the long-term lease of land. So some of the tribunal decisions in this regard are this Logix Infrastructure, SJP, Infracon, Cherno Limited, etc. However, there are ambiguities which are left unanswered here, that currently for the unfinished, before issuance of the completion certificate, if somebody is offering the for sale any apartments and all, then the valuation methodology is giving some kind of a concession towards the value, towards the immovable property involved in the sale of this particular thing. So whether the same kind of abatement is going to be eligible even in the case of preferential location charges is one aspect which the department did not clarify. So going forward, that the litigation is not going to end. Maybe on this aspect that some more clarity is required. So we need to wait and see how the clarification is going to be as far as valuation is concerned. The tax rate is going to be on the composite supply of service. But what is going to be the valuation is something interesting to be seen. Next slide, please.
So can we
Yeah,
launch
on
the
the
polls?
affiliation services, that there are some clarifications which are issued, that the affiliation services provided by the educational boards like CBSE are taxable. However, to exempt affiliation services provided by state or central educational boards, educational councils, and other similarly placed bodies to government schools prospectively, the issue for the past period is going to be regularized on as is where is basis. To clarify by way of circular, the affiliation services provided by universities to their constituent colleges are not covered within the ambit of exemptions provided to education institutions in notification 12 of 2007, and the GST at the rate of 18% is applicable on the affiliation services provided by the universities. Now that issue is going to be clarified. Then import of service by branch office. To exempt the import of services by an establishment of a foreign airlines company from a related person to any of its establishments outside India, when made without consideration, the council recommends to regularize the past period and as is where is basis. But it is not clear when there is flow of money between the branch office in India and their foreign establishment, specifically not attributable to any transaction, will attract GST, and whether the above exemption is applicable for Indian Airlines and their foreign branches. So this is what is the gray areas which were left by the revenue while giving the clarification on this particular aspect. Then renting of commercial property. You may be aware that in the past that already the renting services were brought under the RCM mechanism when a registered person is availing these rental services. He needs to pay it under RCM. But now to bring the renting of commercial property by unregistered person to a registered person completely under the RCM mechanism is a new thing that was the new change that was made. Next slide, please. And ancillary intermediate services provided by the GTA. To clarify, when the ancillary or intermediate services are provided by a GTA in the course of transportation of goods by road, and the GTA also undertakes services like loading, unloading, packing, unpacking, transshipment, temporary warehousing, etc., whether these are going to be treated as a composite supply. So if such services are not provided in the course of transportation of the goods and invoiced separately, then they are not going to be treated as composite supply. But when they are provided as part of or during the course of the GTA services, then the entire bundle is going to be treated as a composite supply, and it will be subjected to tax as composite supply only. So some of the other changes are to regularize the GST liability for the past periods prior to 110 to 2021 on as is where is basis, where the film distributor or sub-distributor acts on principal to principal basis to acquire and distribute films. This is in line with the clarification issued under service tax regime, White Circular 109 of 2009. The transactions of film distributors and sub-distributors acting on principal-to-principal basis are not to be treated as services, and to exempt the supply of services such as application fee for providing electricity connection, rental charges against electricity meter, testing fee and meters and transformers and capacitors, labor charges from customers for shifting the meters and service rate, charges for the duplicate bills, etc., which are incidental, ancillary, or integral to the supply of transactions by transmission and distribution utilities to their consumers when provided as a composite supply. GST for the past period is going to be settled on as is where is basis. The circular 34 of 2018 has already clarified it. However, there are some decisions, particularly you can refer to the Gujarat High Court decision in the case of Torrent Power, and then subsequently the revenue has appealed the matter in the Supreme Court, where the matter is currently pending. So in order to give clarity on this disputed item, this clarification has been issued during the 54th GST Council discussions. Next slide, please.
So can we launch a poll, sir?
Just move to the next slide. Let us see. Because I will complete the press release and then you can launch a poll.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So ancillary intermediate services provided the GTA that we have already discussed it. And then the film distributors that I have discussed. Next slide, please. These were already there. I think it is a repetition. Yeah, this is also there. Move next slide. Yeah, for the facilitation of the trade, that there are some other measures which were also announced, that waiver of interest and penalty are both in respect of tax demands for the period section 73 for the periods 2017-18, 18-19, 19-20, as per section newly introduced section 128A, that the government has come out with a scheme. So many people are calling it as an amnesty scheme for the GST. So there is going to be a circular which is going to be issued in this regard. But unless we see the fine print, that we will not be in a position to comment to what extent it is going to be useful for the trade. Next slide, please. Providing a mechanism for implementation of the newly inserted subsection 5 and 6 in section 16. The GST Council recommended that section 118 and 150 of the Finance Act, which provide for insertion of these two subsections retrospectively with effect from 1/7/2017 may be notified. And they have also recommended that a special procedure for rectification of orders may be notified under section 148 to be followed by a class of taxable persons against whom any order under section 73-74 or section 107-108 has been issued, confirming the demand for wrong availment of ITC on account of contraventions of the provisions under subsection 4 of 16, but where such input tax is now available as per the provisions of subsection 5 or 6, then where appeal against the said orders were not filed. The council recommended issuance of a circular to clarify the procedure, but till the circular is made available and we go through the fine print, we will not be in a position to comment what is going to be the language used by the revenue and their intention. So we have to wait for the circular to be announced. Next slide, please. Yeah. Then there is a important amendment in Rule 89 and Rule 96, which is a contentious issue for the IGST refunds in the past period, that particularly for the UOU CPCG's advanced license holders, whosoever have taken the benefit of the notifications 78 and 79 while importing their raw materials by taking exemption of the IGST and the compensation cess along with the BCD, the refunds were denied on subsequent exports by them. So some of the people have resorted to the methodology of repaying the IGST and the compensation cess along with applicable interest, and such people have sought the refunds. But the matters were disputed at many levels. Now, in order to set right the whole process, that they are going to delete these draconian provisions. But once the activity is complete by way of a notification and we are notified, then only we will be able to comment to what extent this is going to clarify the position for the trade, for the benefit of the trade. But however, there are issues around this, because wherever the period is over for demanding such taxes of the past, because there is no suppression involved, that how it is going to be viewed is one thing that is to be seen. And the second aspect is, when the bill of entries are not going to be reassessed by the jurisdictional customs officers, even in such cases also, this benefit is going to be extended or not is something that needs to be seen. Next slide, please. So, the issuance of clarifications through circulars to remove ambiguity and legal disputes in certain cases, that they wanted to clarify on the place of supply for the advertising services provided by the Indian advertising companies to foreign entities, and clarification regarding availability of ITC on the demo vehicles in the auto sector, and clarification on place of supply of data hosting services provided by the service providers located in India to cloud computing services providers located outside India. And they have also recommended amendments in some of the provisions for the GST rules also. Next slide, please. So, some of the other measures, that B2C e-invoicing is something that we have discussed. And then one important change which is going to affect all of you is going to be the IMS, Invoice Management System, and they are going to introduce the new ledgers. The council took note of the agenda and the enhancement being made to the existing GST return architecture. These enhancements include the introduction of a reverse charge mechanism ledger, and an ITC reclaim ledger, and an invoice management system. The taxpayers would be given the opportunity to declare their opening balances for these ledgers by 31st October 2024. IMS will allow the taxpayers to accept, reject, or to keep the invoices pending for the purpose of availment of input tax credit. This will be an optional facility for the taxpayers to reduce errors in claiming input tax credit and improve the reconciliation. This is expected to reduce the notices issued on account of ITC mismatch in the returns. This is what is the expectation, but to what extent it is going to be realized, that we need to see, because how far the system has been integrated with these intentions, and how the trade is going to understand and implement it, and what can be the bottlenecks while implementing this digital measures is something we need to wait and watch. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is all covers the entire gamut of the 54 GST Council decisions, and what are the measures that they have touched upon during the discussions. Now that I will be touching the circulars, but before that, Pawan will be launching a poll for you. Go ahead, Pawan.
Hello, audience. I will be launching a poll related to the topic. The poll is on your screens. The GST Council recommends reducing the GST rate on which category of drugs? Antibiotics, cancer drugs, vaccines, over-the-counter medications. Please type your answers in the chat box, audience. Also, I'd like to mention, if anyone is having any questions or queries related to this topic or any GST related topic, feel free to type their questions in their Q&A box or chat box. We'll have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of webinar. Sir will take up all your questions. We can already see so many questions through chat box, and few people personally mailing me to ask these questions. Thank you for your response, audience. We can see good number of correct answers from audience. I'll be ending this poll in another 10 seconds.
These
Thank you.
polls are the intention behind announcing these polls is that whether the audience are with the flow or not. It is not to test your knowledge or to give you any kind of a ranking or marking. Your names are not going to be displayed. So even if your guess is going to go wrong, then there's nothing wrong. But it shows that you are actually participating and you are in the webinar.
Yes, sir. Since most of the majority of the person, 90% of the people answer cancer drugs, which is the right answer.
Yeah. So it is good. So we are taking up now the circulars also. So there are 4 circulars which were issued post the 54th GST Council meeting. The first one is on circular 230 on the advertising services. So while entering into the comprehensive service contract, the advertising agency is not an intermediary and it is a representative of the foreign client in India, but not the recipient of services provided, which are in the nature of export of services. So exception would be in the cases where advertising agency acts as an agent of the foreign client in engaging with media owner for providing media space to foreign client, in which case services would be subjected to GST rendered by an intermediary as per circular 159. So the whole crux of this issue, I do not know exactly why a circular especially referring to only the advertising services needs to be issued. There are many similarly placed kind of services where the field level confusion is going on. So this circular, the intention behind this circular can be extrapolated to cover those areas also. Maybe the coming days we can expect such a thing to happen. So let's see that here it has been very categorically clarified that the intermediary definition is not applicable in the case of advertising services. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Circular 231 is about demo vehicles. Very surprisingly, the revenue has clarified that ITC is going to be eligible on the demo vehicles because the demo vehicles are used for further supply. Really, the auto sector has to be appreciated for lobbying with the revenue to get this kind of a clarification, because normally when a demo vehicle is used by the authorized dealers and then it is indirectly contributing to further the sales of the motor vehicles. So in such a scenario, whether the ITC is eligible or not is a debatable issue. But however, the revenue after the 54th GST Council deliberations have come to a conclusion that such motors and said motors, this is the language that was exploited while clarifying this particular point, that they say that section 17(5)(a) capital A of the CGST Act uses the words such motors, but not the said motor vehicle. Hence, when in such a cases, even though the demo vehicle has been recognized as a capital goods in the books of the authorized dealer, but if they are not put to use for the transportation of the staff, employees or management, but only for the purpose of furthering the sales, then in all such cases, ITC is going to be eligible, is what is this clarification given in this circular. It is a welcome circular, in fact, but the intention, the conclusion arrived by the revenue for coming to this conclusion is something which is going to be tested over a period of time in the days to come. Next circular, please. It is circular 232 in case of data hosting services. Again, the revenue has gone on the concept of composite supply, and then the place of supply has been defined in this particular case, is decided that it is going to be export of services only. So the data hosting services are not going to be the intermediary. The place of supply cannot be determined under 13(3)(a), even in cases where the cloud computing service provider is making available the goods to the data hosting service provider in India, and the place of supply is not to be determined under 13(4) of the IGST Act, as the services are not passive supply of services in relation to immovable property, and the place of provision has to be decided under section 13(2) IGST Act and are export subject to other conditions of Section 26 of IGST Act 2017, which you know it, receipt of foreign currency within the stipulated time, etc., etc. So, what is the whole essence of this particular circular is also that the intention could have been, they have brought out their intentions while clarifying on this point, but the point can be extrapolated for other similarly placed service providers also. And we got to see whether the field level understanding is also in sync with this intention of this particular circular. But that is going to be tested in the due course of time only, that we will see. Next slide, please. We are coming to the last circular which is issued on the regularization of the IGST refund. Actually, that there is no requirement for such a circular, but maybe the intention of the circular is to recover the past dues also. But how the past dues for this are going to be realized by the government is something interviewing. While discussing this aspect in the previous slides that I have already discussed, that the officers are not ready to reassess the bills, and moreover, wherever the time barred demands are there, how the tax is going to be paid and how the refund is going to be processed is something which needs to be seen in the coming days. So this circular, I don't think is going to serve any useful purpose, but to garner some more revenue for the government from those people who are afraid of any, taking up any kind of a litigation with the revenue may yield to that. And it did not also clarify whether TR6 challan payments are going to be acceptable for going in for a refund at a later point of a time. So these are the circulars which were issued, but on other points that there is a promise, but the delivery did not happen as on date. So because the next council meeting is scheduled in the month of November, so we are having plenty of time now. Maybe in the due course that we are going to receive the other clarifications also as promised. Hence, we need to see. But since we are having this session till date, whatever is the changes that were proposed, that I have covered extensively all of them. So if there are any things, then maybe in the coming month when we are going to have the next webinar, maybe when time permits, and if you are interested, maybe that we will be covering up. Pawan, you don't have any polls to launch, right?
I have, sir.
Yeah, then you please do it so that I will cover the way forward and the missing points, and then I'll take up the Q&A.
Yes, sir. Audience, we have a poll running in our LinkedIn page. I have pasted the direct poll post in the chat box. You can directly click on the link and you will be redirected to the LinkedIn page. You can participate in the poll.
After participating in the poll, my humble request to all the participants, please pose your queries in the Q&A box so that it will be easy for us to answer all of them. However, whatever is there in the chat box, I am going to address them also.
You can see good number of responses for the LinkedIn poll. I can read it out for you. What is the newly proposed GST rate for car and motorcycle seats? 18%, 12%, 28%, 5%. Audience, you can directly click the link in the chat box and you will be redirected to the LinkedIn page. Also check out our page for more updates on GST related and all workflow automation solution related. And to keep on updated with these news and updates, you can follow our page WebSolve in LinkedIn.
So many people will be interested to know like what is exactly the answer for this query. So it is going to be 18%, which is going to be enhanced to 28% in due course of time, not immediately, in due course of time, in order to align it with the two-wheeler seats.
Mr. Yogendrashi mentioned 28 in the chat box.
Yeah, that is the
Correct.
reason that I'm just answering to him.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right. So we'll move to the next topic. Next slide, please.
Yes, sir.
So what are the missed points and what is the way forward? So some of the decisions may need to be extrapolated to similar other issues pending in other sectors, like clarifications on the bundle services in GTA, real estate, or even the data hosting and the services. Wherever the time there was an opportunity that I have also discussed with you, that when the government is taking a particular line of argument in order to come to a conclusion, the same line of argument is going to hold good in other sectors also. So they might have clubbed all those points while clarifying, instead of issuing a sectoral clarifications in the form of circulars, because there will be too many circulars which will be floating around. And there are no recommendations made with respect to the inverted tax structure for the fertilizer sector and the tax demands made on the fertilizer subsidy, which was there since long, because in the 50th GST Council meeting, already a draft circular has been prepared on these lines, but it could not see the light of the day because of a lacking in consensus. And there are no final decisions made on the online gaming sector, or how the value need to be considered for the tax levy, because this is the topic which has hogged the limelight during the past, and lakhs of crores of demands have floated around, and the matter is currently pending in the Supreme Court also. And there are no decisions made with reference to the electric vehicle industry, which is the buzzword now in all the places, nor any concessions were announced in the case of scrappage of vehicles also, because that is what was being proposed time and again, but we could not see any concrete decisions made in this regard. And the compliance burden is increasing day by day, and it is time that industry seriously considers to adopt these changes by resorting to an automation at the earliest. It is not to promote what Websol is doing, but certainly it is going to be humanly not possible for any body to take care of the reconciliations. Now the new buzzword is going to be invoice management system. So if you are somebody who is dealing with some 50 or 100 invoices in a month, then maybe humanly it can be possible. But for those who are having more number, and then it is going to be more complex, and it is going to be time taking. So it is always suggestible that one adopts to this automation by taking help of the offerings from Websol and all, and implement it at the earliest, so that you will be more compliant, and your organization thereby is going to get benefit out of it. So with this, I think that I have come to the end of my presentation on the 54th GST Council meeting discussions and all that. Now I am ready to take up your queries. So I am going into the chat box, because that there are few queries which are there in the chat box. After that, if there are any queries from the audience directly, if they want to pose it, then I will be taking that. So while answering Bhaskar Jagannathan's query, that he is a supplier of components for the seat manufacturer, so only the seat rates are decided. There is no law which says that the components should go with the same rate as the finished product. It doesn't hold water in that way. So hence, your argument that if you are supplying components to 2 or 4 wheelers manufactured under 28%, same analogy has to be adopted. There is no law which says that it has to be adopted when you are supplying components to the seat manufacturers based on the end use. So that is not that is completely a wrong understanding. Hence, it is not the case. Hope that I have clarified to you. And then there is one more query, that the client has received notices regarding payment of excess credit of ITC along with interest and penalty for the financial year 1920. The client paid the GST for the excess ITC credit. As per the recommendations of the 53rd GST Council, the interest penalty up to 1920 will be waived off. We do not know whether any notification, no notification has been issued as on date, sir, on this issue. But another thing also, most of the clarifications are going to be on as is where is basis. If you have already paid the tax along with interest, then I don't think that you will be getting the refund of the same. Considering the other clarifications, wherever that government is saying it is as is where is basis, I don't think that you will be getting any kind of a refund. And then there is another question, additional 2% TDS applicable in B2B sale of metal scrap means we have to charge in the invoice. See, TDS applicability is always that it is going to be a tax deducted at source only. Hence, you have to deduct the 2% in addition to whatever the tax applicable, that you are right. It is a double compliance because in order to plug out the unscrupulous dealers. And then there is another query in IMS whether partial credit can be availed or not. For example, supplier invoice IGST is 1000. Can I avail 500 due to shortage of receipt, etc.? Also confirm in transit goods. Can I take credit as per 2B without receipt of material as per IMS? Even if I take wrongly, what is the solution to reverse? See, these are all hypothetical things that the IMS is going to be rolled out from 14th of October. So they have already issued one manual and some FAQs, but they were all not finalized yet. So once the final contours are available, maybe we would like to have one session on the invoice management system in the coming month. Maybe all these questions will be taken up, because once we get the clarity what exactly the government wants to do, then we will be in a better position to clarify your doubts. Otherwise, that we will be dishing out our own views, which I don't want to. We have issue with GST, ITC reversal on inventory revaluation provision, non-moving goods, as well as return of inventory value in the books. In these cases, should we need to reverse the GST, ITC or inventory revaluation or return of inventory value? Please clarify. No, sir. It is not required. See, this is what that we are time and again discussing, that a taxable supply only suffers the tax when for your own reasons. It can be because of the accounting or that the inventory control, inventory management, etc. Whatever may be the reason that you are revaluing your asset, then that is not the time when you have to pay any GST on them or the reversal of GSTs. Nothing is required. When you are indulging in a supply, then only the GST is applicable. So if you are going to say that the goods are going to be written off and you are going to destroy the goods, then it tantamounts to a kind of a supply. In such a scenario, you have to reverse the input credit. But till the time the goods are still available, but in the books of accounts that they were written off, but in such a scenario, no GST need to be paid. I hope I made it amply clear to you. Then we have another issue with the GST, ITC on food and accommodation of hotel bills. These expenses are purely related to business tour expenses. Can we claim GST, ITC on such expenses claimed by the employee from the employer? See, GST, ITC claim is something which the employer and employee have to settle between them. When an employee on a business tour checks into a hotel and takes a bill in his name, then in such a scenario, there is no question of the employer being the firm, a registered GST entity, taking any kind of an input credit, because the document is not in the name of the company. Hence, that is completely ruled out. The second possibility is the employee checks into the hotel, but he takes all the bills in the name of the firm which he is representing. So, can there be an ITC for this? So, in most of the cases, the field formations are definitely going to deny this input credit, though it is in relation to the business tour, because canteen food itself, the revenue authorities are denying it, and there is no clarity, even though the matter has been deliberated and discussed at several points of time in the past. What they are saying that if it is mandated under law, any law, then only it is going to be allowed. So, in such a scenario, I fear that the hotel accommodation or the food expenses, even though the bills are taken in the name of the registered entity, that is the firm, that the ITC is going to be allowed for the employer. I think I made it clear from my point of view that it's not going to be helpful for you. And Lalita Chaudhary The 2% TDS on scrap sales will be deducted by the recipient of the supply, that too as per section 51. Sir, there is a amendment in the section 51 only. So it is going to be now even for the unregistered suppliers of dealers also. Hence, the 2% is going to be applicable. The TDS is going to be applicable in their cases also. We have to wait for the fine print to come, sir. So far that there is no notification issued in this regard. It is only in the recommendation stage. I think I have covered all the queries in the chat box as well as in the Q&A also. So even now also that I am ready, if there are any questions, if the audience want to discuss. I think in the chat that there is one query by somebody that the career in GST. Certainly, if you are passionate, sky is the limit for you, that in any field that you can pursue a career and you can make good money out of it. So the only thing is that it should be passion driven, not compulsion driven. So if you are really serious about making a career in GST, then be prepared for it, be thorough in on the all the new updates and all that, and then you pick up the right kind of soft tools also in order to excel in your field and accept the work the way it comes in. Certainly that you can flourish. It's a very good area, upcoming area also. Hence, somebody can really seriously look at it.
Also, audience, if you want to directly ask any question with the sir, you can raise your hands so that I can enable you to talk. Mr. Jaydeep Gaur was raising the hand. Before that, we have a question, sir, in the chat box.
Yes, I have seen that question. See, that is exactly the point that I'm saying, sir. The field formations are not agreeing that it is a business-related expenditure. Always the food and accommodation are people are under the view that it is a personal consumption. Hence, ITC is not going to be eligible. Hence, they mark them as NO only. So if you are really ripe and you want to take up the litigation, certainly it is a good fight that you can take it up. But at what level that you are going to win this case, that we cannot predict. Because any decision even by the Supreme Court also is going to be overturned by a GST Council clarification at a later point of a time. Hence, we can't say. So it all depends on your appetite to go in for a litigation. And then there is one more query. Will there be any amnesty scheme for old dues? As of now, no, sir. Yeah, somebody wants to ask me a question.
Mr.
They
Jaydeep
can
Gaur,
go ahead. Yeah.
I allowed you to talk. You can unmute your mic and ask the question.
Sir, there are continuous requests for a one-time amnesty scheme, but nothing is there proposed also.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, all of you.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Is my voice audible?
Yes, sir.
Sir, my question is, actually, I have received a notice under section 74 where GST interest and penalty demanded by GST department, right? So just I want to know when we will receive notification regarding like waiver of interest and penalty.
Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir. Sir, when notification will come regarding waiver of penalty and interest for financial year
When
17
it
to
comes, we do not
1920?
know, sir, because that the GST Council meeting is complete. Decision is taken. In all papers, the decisions were communicated. And like me, that several subject matter experts and all have conducted the sessions, and they have clarified that there is going to be a partial amnesty scheme which is going to be there. Hence, you can take advantage of it. What is the partial amnesty scheme is the ITC related issues are going to be settled and all.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
So we can't predict anything, sir, that we have to wait. And as far as the amnesty scheme in Bangalore, that it cannot be an amnesty scheme for Bangalore, sir. Anything to do with the GST is going to be a pan-India thing. No single state on its own can go for anything. Hence, it is going to be a pan-India and it should be a decision from the GST Council. You might have seen yesterday that Guwahati High Court has struck down the famous circular by which the department has extended the timelines for issuing notices. So now we got to see what is going to be the next step, because this was not something which was discussed and debated in the GST Council, but government has felt that there is a dire need for the officers to have the extended timelines for making the demands, and they have gone ahead and issued that, but which was not ratified by the GST Council. On that ground, the Guwahati High Court has struck down this decision. So litigation continues. So when it is going to end, we do not know. Amnesty schemes are something that we should not be aspiring for. As far as possible, that better that you close it out. Of course, that the as is where is clarifications are giving some amount of confidence to the people that if we have not paid it, let there be a as is where is clarification. Then tomorrow this aspect is going to be decided by the department and I may not need to pay. But it depends on your appetite. If you can wait for such a long times and all, you can take a chance. Then there is one query we gave a corporate guarantee to our overseas subsidiary and recovered amount from the overseas subsidiary. Then we are eligible to pay on a value at 1%. Plain reading, yes. But if we go into the details of it, what for this has been given, how it has been given and all, maybe that I will be in a better position to give you a correct response. But as per the 3 lines that you have shared with me, it appears yes. You have to pay on the 1% value.
Sir, I'm allowing Mr. Vaishali Kulkarni to talk.
Yeah, let there be. But there is one other question also in IMS. If I'm not taking any action, it will be deemed acceptance of the ITC. When there is no report for those ITC availment, how to reply to the department later if I get any notice? Better that you take an action, sir. Why you want to keep it pending? Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Vaishali, you can unmute yourself and talk.
Yes. Sir, I'm a GST practitioner, and what I said that qualification wise, eligible wise, I have a qualification in doctor in physiotherapy. While I'm not practicing that, as well as I have BGL, Bachelor of General Law, but I'm only practicing only for own purpose or whenever I'm attending as being export import consultant. I practice it representing in front of customs, and as well as I am also a COSIA advisor on the air cargo complex. My question is that being well nowadays doctors are exempted from GST, then the lawyers are also exempted from GST. Then from 17 onwards, from the beginning, I'm paying GST, and so can I be exempted? This is the basic question which last time also I had asked you, but there was no response from your side. Right now also I am asking this because my GST collection has been growing, and just please explain me whatever way it is.
Ma'am, there are small corrections to your understanding. First, lawyers are not exempt from GST. I am a lawyer. I am not exempt from GST. Whatever bill that I give to my client, the client is supposed to pay it under reverse charge mechanism. I am not paying, but my client is paying on the service and he is eligible to take the credit because it is in relation to his business. That is one aspect as far as the lawyer's issue is concerned. And coming to the doctors, only when you are giving any kind of a service in relation to life saving, then only you are exempt. But if you are giving any other kind of a services, advisory and all that, like for good nutrition advice you are giving it, then it is not life saving. Hence, you are not exempt. A dentist is not exempt. But when a dentist is undertaking the dental procedure, when there is an accident and there is a life threat, if the dentist is not going to undertake that particular procedure for a patient, then in such a case, that procedure is going to be exempt. So the exemption which is given in the case of healthcare services has to be evaluated on a case-to-case basis. But you cannot say that by virtue of you being a doctor, anything done by you is exempt. Sorry, that understanding is not correct. And another
Okay.
thing also, when you have asked the last time also, I think I have clarified to you that you are supposed to pay the tax. It is not the case that you are exempt by virtue of you being a doctor. You should be doing the healthcare services for life saving of your patients. Then only in such cases that, see, a cosmetologist is not exempt. Any surgeries done by a cosmetologist is definitely not exempt. But at the same time, if a cosmetologist has to perform a surgery in order to set right an accidental patient's face, and unless he does it, then the patient is not able to run his day-to-day activities, then in such a case, that activity is going to be exempt. So very critically, we need to examine each and every activity, and then only we have to come to a conclusion whether it is an exempted service or a taxable service. And second
Okay.
thing, you are saying that you are practicing as a GST consultant, that you can practice, you can give dish out advices and all, but you cannot represent any client unless you are qualified as a GST practitioner with the Government of India. There is a separate examination which is conducted for somebody to get qualified as a GST practitioner. If you qualify in that, certainly you can take it up. I think I have
Okay.
answered all your queries. If anything is
Okay.
left
Thank you,
out, please
sir.
ask.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your
Thank you.
Mr. Keshav Chalake, I'm allowing you to talk. You can quickly ask your question and clarify. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sir, I had asked you some questions in chat box. So related that, I got the clarification from your side. Thank you for that. I
Thank
have
you.
one more question regarding to the uh, GST ITC on airline charges. Can we avail the input tax credit on the airline charges? Flat charges booked for the business purpose.
Sir, if you have got a proper justification at your end to demonstrate that this particular air travel has been undertaken as part of the business, certainly you can
Mhm.
take it.
Okay. That is related to
Sir, you
business.
can say that, but the thing is that
Okay.
it should be demonstrable on paper. The issue is
Okay.
that oral understanding is not going to help, because the
Mm-hmm.
departmental audit will happen after some time. So at that
Mm-hmm.
time, on paper, we should be able to demonstrate that this particular business trip has been undertaken in or in relation to your business activity.
Which document I need to keep as a evidence for these things
It
to
can be
claim
many,
that?
sir. The thing is that there is a business conference for which that the attendance has happened. So the business
Okay.
conference invitation, but there is a client visit which has happened. So there is a agreement with the client wherein it also says that you have to periodically visit my place in order to undertake these services and all that. So it can be any document
Okay.
which evidences
Okay.
that there is a travel required and it is part of your business,
Okay,
right?
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Keshav. Audience, we can see good number of responses and queries from your end. Also, if anyone wants to rewatch the webinar and if they want to ask any questions, they can always contact in our post-webinar mail that we are sending to you. You will be receiving a post-webinar mail with presentation deck and the recording of video after the webinar. Also, if anyone still interested to have a demo of our free demo of our flow tax, which is GST, automated GST filing and reconciliation software, they can always reply to the post webinar mail that you will be receiving, so that we will schedule a demo after the webinar.
So there are two more questions which have come up. One in the chat box. What is the one-time updation of the RCM balance in the portal? I think it is 31st October 2024. So there is a notification which has been issued yesterday. So please refer to that. What is the procedure and how you have to go about it? So for all the companies, I think that they have given time till 30th of June 2024 to update it on or before 31st of October 2024. So one can refer to that particular notification which was issued yesterday only. And then in the Q&A that there is one question. The client is a company has purchased gold for investment purpose, also shown balance sheet in investment, also take the physical delivery, whether ITC is available or not, no. Because the company is into some business, but the investment is not one of the things that the company is having excess cash, hence they want to invest and make money out of it. So in such a case, when they have invested in the gold, for purchase of such a gold, when GST is paid, that GST ITC is not going to be eligible, because it is not the purpose is not that just to invest in gold. There are companies which will simply invest in gold. For them, it is going to be eligible. For any company like an auto company having excess money, hence they have invested in gold. So whether ITC is eligible, the answer is no.
Thank you, audience. As most of the audience requesting me personally and also discussing about invoice management system, we will plan for the next month as a whole topic of invoice management system. Stay tuned to all the announcement. I will be sending you through mail, and please attend the webinar for the next month for invoice management system. Thank you. I think all the queries has been resolved by the sir.
Yeah, if there are no further queries and all, thank you very much. Thanks for your valuable time that you have spent on this webinar session. Look forward to.
Thank you, audience.